You ready?
We are.
All right.
We're not ready.
Sit down, Gary. I'd like to call this meeting to order and start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, nation under God, indivisible. Okay. So, if any member of the public would like to comment on an agenda item, please fill out one of the blue comment cards and give it to the board secretary. If you're attending virtually through Zoom, place comments in the chat and board secretary will call on you at the appropriate time. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. Current policy allows for any item on the agenda to be open for comment. Members of the board, please remember to state your name when making a motion or seconding, as well as when you cast your vote. Let's go to 2.0, communications and presentations.
Communications are getting wrapped up under the superintendent.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Are there any requests from persons wishing to speak, Tanya? Financial report? Are there any questions? Are there any questions on the full faith and credit project report?
Not me. I haven't done it yet, so I'll have to send it to the board.
Okay. Personnel report? Enrollment report? Any of 2.7 out-of-state travel? All right. Moving on to 3.0, all items on the consent agenda can be approved by a single motion unless a member of the board or superintendent requests that an item be changed, removed, or voted on separately. Are there any changes or additions to the board agenda?
Yeah, this is member Dibdall. I move that 7.2.5 policy KAB parental rights be removed from the agenda for further review.
Okay. Is there a second?
Member Schmidt seconds.
Having a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Tanya?
Member Dindal,
Yes.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Sable.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We have to vote on the full consent as well? We have
And now we
a
will
motion yet.
vote on them. Updated.
Okay.
Member Schmidt moves that we accept the consent agenda
As amended.
as amended.
Member
Go ahead.
Dibdall seconds.
Having a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Tanya?
Member Dindal,
Yes.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes.
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Member Sable.
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
4.0 reports. Pass High School happenings. Since we here.
What's on there?
Good evening. I thought I'd just give you a quick update of some cool things and great things that have been happening the last couple months at Grants Pass High School. So on November 2nd, we held what's called an Avid Showcase. We were approached by the Avid organization saying, hey, you guys are doing really great things with the Avid program. We'd like you to do a showcase. And so on November 2nd, we had over 30 educators from around the state, including a guy from Washington and some folks from Northern California. The goal of the showcase is really to show off your Avid program, because as other schools are developing their Avid program and starting their Avid program, or for some, they lost some progress during COVID. They want to see what others are doing, and that visual representation is really helpful for folks. So they came down. Pam McNulty was instrumental as our Avid site coordinator in organizing this day. We talked about our Avid journey, how our Avid site team functions, really just giving them an overview of what Avid looks like at Grants Pass High School. We had 8 different teachers participate in the tour of classes, so we broke the participants into smaller groups. We had student ambassadors who took them on a tour of the different teachers' classrooms who were demonstrating Avid strategies or best instructional practices. We then had a student and parent panel. Cassie was a part of that. She graciously came and shared information about her experience as a parent. Then we had the site team members have a panel, and this is where they shared information, and then the participants were able to ask questions. Overall, we had 27 of our Avid kiddos be student ambassadors, and then 24 Avid kiddos did a demonstration of the tutorial process, which was super cool. And again, we could not have done this, Trish and I could not have done this without Pam's instrumental help, but it's a real honor. They don't allow just anybody to be a showcase school. There's an application process. And so for Avid to want to show us off was a really cool thing. So that went really well. Super excited about that. Just kind of some updates on leadership and what they've been doing. The top picture, which is hard to see, between staff and students, we wrote 856 kindness notes, and then we hung those up on the windows in the foyer as part of Kindness Week. And they were specifically dressed to certain staff and students, which was super cool. They hosted a blood drive where 49 students donated blood, which is awesome. We did an assembly and welcomed our sparrow, Evelyn. She has a version of cerebral palsy. And so right now the kids are working to do volunteer hours so that her family can earn some money to help with some procedures that are upcoming. We're also going to send some kids to work at their family's nonprofit sensory space. So excited that our kids are going to get out and about and do some work with some kiddos. We did a snack drive in November, and you can see the bottom picture is they're all sitting in the storeroom right now, but they gathered over 4,000 snacks, and we give those out to our kids at the high school who need them during the day. So that's super awesome. And that's all donated by our kids. And then currently leadership is doing a toy drive. All the toys go to the Women's Crisis Support Team, and then they get those out to families in need. So there's a little QR code there if you want to help support. They do it right off of Amazon. It gets shipped to the school. So lots of packages are arriving daily for toys that we're going to be able to give to Women's Crisis Support Team. So they're doing lots of great stuff. Once a month, we have an Avid site team that has about 27 to 30 members on it. During that time, the rest of our teachers send out positive messages to students and or families. This could be a postcard that they send home, could be an email using Parent Square. Some folks pick up the phone and call parents to let them know how great their kid is. They can use Canvas. So up to this point in the school year, we have sent 1,040 positive messages home, just telling kids how awesome they're doing. And parents are really pleased with that. They hang that stuff on the fridge or they email back. You know, all of us that are parents, we know that it's nice to hear the good things about our kiddos. And then just a little update from the Career Center. We did have Career Day in October. We had over 90 different vendors that Shauna Bland organized to come. It was super cool. The SWAT team, there's a picture of, I think that's Randy Stewart in the SWAT vehicle. We had a boat from Hellgate. Lots of great things in the gym. We had a semi-truck simulator. So if you wanted to check out your semi-truck driving skills, that was there. I didn't get a chance to try that. I really wanted to check it out. I'm pretty sure I would have failed miserably, but it was a huge hit. Lots of kids getting to see what's available to them in a variety of fashions. And then we did our first ever senior night, where we brought in a variety of folks. So we had someone come down from OSAC Oregon Promise to give a presentation to parents and kids about what that looks like and what they need to do. We had the military there. The Redwood Foundation was there talking about how to start applying for scholarships with the application and what they need to do. We had Pam's mom, as I call her, was here talking about apprenticeships. They run an apprenticeship program. The counselors were all there so parents could check in on grad progress and what does their kid need to do to graduate. We talked about FAFSA, even though I don't know if it's quite open yet, but they're working on it. College applications, how to request transcripts, just a variety of things. I went as a parent, got some good feedback from parents, and that's something we'll continue to do, but really trying to communicate with and help folks with what their kids' next step in life is, because it's going to be here sooner than we know it. And that's it. So that's just kind of a quick snapshot of some things that I thought were super cool that we're doing at Grants Pass High School. Any questions?
Member Sable. I read all these letters that the kids wrote about their experience.
Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second.
Oh,
too,
okay,
about
I'm
Avid.
getting
Yeah, we
ahead.
have an Avid
I'm getting ahead.
presentation too.
I was just gonna say I loved it. But I'll wait.
Yeah.
The Career Center, or the Career Day, rather, was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I got to have a booth there with my employer, and I was really impressed with the quality of the questions and the inquisitiveness of the kids that came through. That was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the compliance report and local wellness policy with Principal Mooney and Directors Blanchard and Evans.
Yeah, you have board policy EFA and a few revisions to that on the board agenda today, but one of the things that is called out in, and we talked about in policy committee, is the need for district wellness committee to come together and review our district wellness program. The policy calls for a lot of different areas of wellness, from the classroom, education in health, education in PE. It has to do with food services. It has to do with staff wellness. And the committee that we pull together has representation from our classified and certified, from food service. There are also members of the community, parents, students. We had 3 Grants Pass High School students serve on the committee. And we went through this process of talking about our local wellness policy. It's required, since we participate in the National School Lunch Program and the School Breakfast Program, that we do this assessment triannually. We have gotten off cycle pretty significantly through the COVID years, but this was an effort to get us back on cycle. In that work that we did, some recommendations come out of it. We evaluate, how did we do? Partially meet, yes, we meet, no, we don't meet. You'll see in all of our recommendations, there's always room for improvement. And so that's where our recommendations come into play. We cannot do all those things that are listed or recommended, but it's our job to take it back as a staff and talk about what can we do. And so Tommy and Christine are going to share with you some of those recommendations and what our plan is going forward.
Connie, can we advance that?
Thank you.
Thank you. So we're not gonna talk about each one of them individually. There's too much to cover in there, but I will share a few things with you that as we try to prioritize these, obviously some things are far easier to look at in the short term than others. So for instance, covered play areas, that's not something that we construct overnight. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. When we talk about how do we communicate with families about nutrition, that's a little bit easier to do. There's still a plan that needs to be put together. But when we look at prioritizing, there's going to be a short-term plan, and then we'll continue to work on some of those priorities that we know are great things, but are going to take a little bit more time. So just a couple things that we pointed out up there as we prioritize that. What are those low-hanging fruit things that we know are beneficial for families, for students, and for staff that we can tackle right away? You know that we have a new person running our food service program who's doing some really wonderful things, and nutrition is at the forefront of what she is trying to do. So we're going to continue to evaluate the product that we put out there, how much we're able to provide for kids, and provide a quality nutritional program and menus for our kids. How do we continue to communicate the importance with families? And one of the things that we're going to do shortly is Tara, who heads our food services, and myself will be heading out to the schools to meet with the principal and the food service or the kitchen manager at each one of the high schools, because we can't just have our head of food service be the one that promotes. There are oftentimes a number of people removed when she sends a message out. Most of our community doesn't know who that is. It's very different when it comes from a classroom teacher or when it comes from the principal. And so how do we make a more concerted effort to communicate the important things in regards to nutritional and down the road physical activity with our families? We will continue to increase our staff knowledge, and those acronyms up there, Trish already addressed: our National School Lunch Program and our School Breakfast Program. We have one school that still has serves breakfast in the classroom in a community environment. The others are doing it back in the cafeteria. That was something that there had been a transition to the classroom when we were unfortunately in those COVID times, but we have transitioned back. And so we're still evaluating numbers. What I would tell you is since September, the number of meals served per day has gone up 100 for breakfast across the district and a little over 70 for lunch. So we're excited to see that those numbers are increasing, because we know that a hungry kid is going to struggle to learn. And so that'll be part of our work when we get out to the schools, is how do we get more kids to be consuming both breakfast and lunch to be better prepared to find success in the classroom. And then obviously our staff and student well-being. And so I've shared a few things that we've done in food service with kids. Christine will talk about staff shortly, but there's a lot of guidelines and rules that come along with the production of food in schools. One of the things that we have to follow is the Smart Snack guidelines, and it's very difficult to provide anything at school that isn't very, very healthy. That's not a bad thing, but it's something that we constantly have to evaluate. That includes fundraisers and all of those things. You see chocolate bars all over the place, but there are rules that come along with that, how we do that. Competitive foods. You don't see that the soda machines are working during the school day, because that does not meet your Smart Snack guidelines. And it basically applies to everything outside of concessions at sporting events and then outside fundraisers. So when it involves kids, it's there's quite a bit of red tape and guidelines that we have to follow. So we need to make sure that we continue to educate our staff on that, what kind of snacks we're providing. Many of you are aware of our fresh fruits and vegetables program that we're doing at the elementary school. So trying to incorporate healthy ways of eating and introducing our kids to things that maybe they have not seen at home. One of the things that we're always going to combat is time is a challenging thing for families, and it's a lot easier to put an Uncrustable in a bag, to grab a Lunchable, something that's very, very quick, oftentimes not really thinking about the nutritional value of things. So we're going to have to work to combat that. If you ever drive down A Street at lunch, you're going to see the old Circle K Pinnacle that has a ton of kids that are going over there. And often what you see coming back is fried food, candy, or the old big gulps, or whatever they call them over there, Polar Pops now, I think. But it's close, but it does cost money. Every single one of our students could have a free breakfast and a free lunch. And one of the things that we're really pushing, it's on the menus right now, that even if you bring your own breakfast or lunch, you are still able to grab something at school. Now, there are also guidelines about what you can grab at school. I can't just grab an entree, because we have to pay attention to the 5 types of things that a student could have for lunch. And it has to be a certain combination of those things to be a reimbursable breakfast or lunch. And so that's stuff that we're going to still work to educate our families on. So Those are some of the things that are what we consider to be low hanging fruit that we'll be working pretty diligently on in the early going. And then we'll start to explore into some of those things with the physical activity that we want to see from our kids. So I will share just a few things about the activity piece that I don't know if you all know that PE has mandated minutes at each one of our levels. And so we do make sure that we follow that, which essentially is getting our elementary and middle school kids to have a PE offering every single day. One of the things that came out in the recommendations is what are we offering for PE? And not all of you are on the board when the presentation was made, but the high school did go through a recent transition at the 9th grade level where the offerings for 9th grade PE, which is a requirement, is now their classes of choice now. So there's 4 different classes that may be more suitable for one kid versus another. So there's a little bit of choice there, and we will continue to look at others, but there's also a process for that. How do we incorporate more movement opportunities outside of PE? Obviously, there's recess, but if you go into a classroom, you do see a lot of design movement activities, especially in our younger classrooms, even for things like picking up materials that involves movement. And we know the importance of movement and the child brain in relation to learning. I already mentioned we provide our free breakfast and lunch. We're in the early stages of transitioning away from our prepackaged. That's going to take time too, because that's equipment, and equipment is expensive. We've had our first bit of equipment come in, so tilt skillets that allow us to do more of the scratch cooking. It's not just getting the equipment in there, but it's also helping our current food service employees kind of make that transition, because it has been prepackaged for quite some time. And so there's teaching and learning to be done there as well. And again, I already mentioned our smart snack guidelines. So that's a little bit of the things that we're currently doing, mostly in relation to students and food service. And I'm going to turn it over to Christine to speak a little bit about what we're doing with staff wellness.
Okay. So I get to speak about staff wellness, which is a huge passion of mine. And last year we began the year, so last fall, we started with a staff survey just because we felt that we needed to get a pulse on how staff was, what they were thinking and feeling about their own wellness. And from that survey, we really got a pulse on what the staff was thinking. We had 413 people respond out of the entire district. And I'm going to show you a couple pieces of data. The survey was really brief. It took about 2 minutes for the staff to complete. And from the data, we developed a district-wide committee. It's different from the policy committee because it focuses only on staff wellness. So this first piece of data shows you how they responded about this question about their work-life balance. And it's pretty telling as far as how they're feeling. Do they have a good balance? This next piece of data is about how they're feeling, their perception on stress, how they're rating their stress level 1 to 10. And 7 is pretty high. And that's where they're rating their stress level. From all of this data, we decided we wanted to try to accomplish as many tasks as we could. Some of the other things we gained from the survey were things like, do you get enough sleep? Do you have a wellness routine at home? And then other ideas, what types of things would you like to see? And so from that, we decided to create some activities. So our wellness committee got together, and these were some of the things that we tried to accomplish and that we did accomplish. So the first thing that we did was we pulled in some guest speakers to speak about financial wellness, nutrition, and we brought in a speaker to talk about stress and how to handle stress. We also had a winter wellness activity that took all of January. And it was simply a piece of paper with a bunch of activities that covered the 8 dimensions of wellness. And they were able to check off different activities, turn it in at the end of the month. And they were participating in a drawing and they could win things like massages, memberships to Club Northwest, guitar lessons, different things like that. Another thing that was really on the survey that we saw was they wanted reduced memberships at some of the local gyms. And so Nefeli was my partner in a lot of this work, as well as the committee. And so she and I went and talked to YMCA and Club Northwest, and we got some partnerships going with them to where we have reduced memberships for our employees, where single members, couples or families can receive reduced memberships. But we thought, what if somebody belonged to Planet Fitness, or if they have an online membership like Beachbody? So we created a something where members could turn in, employees can turn in at the end of the year, a reimbursement every month of $10 a month. So everybody can participate, just encouraging that healthy lifestyle. Another thing, I'm going to have Carrie pop in for a second just to explain this. Carrie, who is amazing, she's my PE teacher at my school. She created a district-wide wellness game on challenge for the entire district, and we had 128 people compete in. And so I'm gonna let her talk about it for just a minute.
Thank you. Okay, so we're, I did it a long time ago. And with the up and coming wellness, everything that's coming. I decided to bring it back last year. We were really excited. I think we had pretty much everybody represented, even from bus transportation. So it was awesome. So we're gonna do it again this year. And everybody that participates gets a score sheet, or they get print off a score sheet. And what we do is we try to get teams. So we're working together. So teams of 2 to 4, 5 max. And you will try to earn points throughout the week. So you can earn points by staying within a nutrition program, and Weight Watchers is free for our school district, which is awesome. Or Michi's Ladder, or whatever program that you find that works for your body. You have 20 minutes of daily exercise, 5 days a week. You can earn points for those. If you can get your 8 hours of sleep in a night, 5 days a week, we don't, gotta have a little fun on the weekends, right? You have to get your water intake, you get points. You have to add a good habit. It could be brushing your teeth after lunch, or making sure you get the flossing done. You get points. If you drop a bad habit, mine last year was sugar. So you get points for that. And then you get communication points. So you can earn points by communicating with the team member, but you also have to communicate with somebody that's on a different team. And that's just on the honor system. And then each week, the team will total up their points to get a team average. And the teams that have a perfect score this year will be on the wheel of names. And each week they will get their team name on the wheel, and we'll videotape it, and then we will announce winners where they can earn their entry fee money back. So I came here to invite our school board to get a team going and join us this January, right after Christmas break. And let's get those healthy habits.
And I'll just tell you that each team they do have names, and I'm going to read you some of the names from last year. Young and Breathless, Hot Chili Steppers, Dump Your Rumps, Wishful Shrinking, Lighten Up, Every Move You Make, and you get the idea.
They got
So
very
anyways,
creative.
they did get very creative. So, and really the point is, it's all about connection and belonging and being healthy. So,
And I got a lot of emails stating that, oh my gosh, I made an effort to go down the hall and communicate with somebody that I normally don't speak to on a daily basis. So I think that was our biggest takeaway, is that they got to communicate more with their own staff that were on different teams. And then, of course, they communicated with me every week, team leaders. It was a lot of fun. So I'm hoping you guys will get a team together.
So moving on, just to let you know, we found that there was a lot of free resources in the district. Like Carrie mentioned, we have free Weight Watchers. We also have our EAP assistance program, employee assistance program, which is free counseling, things like that. So we knew we needed a place to put all of those resources, a central location. So developed this website and just put them into these 4 buckets. So you could see the health and nutrition bucket, fitness and movement bucket, which is where you employees can go find all of their information for their gym memberships and the reimbursement form. The mindfulness bucket is where like I said, the employee assistance program is for the free counseling. There's also the stress speaker that we had come in, Matt Lund, who is from YMCA. And then the Best Life, that's where our financial employee assistance program is. And there's other resources there as well. And then finally, I just wanted to leave you with a few quotes from District 7 employees. And some of these quotes are from Redwood, where we do play pickleball once a week currently. And some of them are just from other employees around the district. And that is what I would like to share.
Thank you.
Any questions?
That's great.
I don't have a question, but Member Smith, I have just a comment. I really appreciate all the hard work that you've put into this, Christine. And I think that I've shared in the past that I'm really looking for some areas where we can adopt a cultural push in the district. And I think this is an area that deserves that. I believe that teachers that show up as the best versions of themselves in the classroom will not only be more filled with joy in their life, but also have an impact on their students, and those students will perform better in their academics. So I see our support for our teachers and staff as an integral part of our mission for educating children. And so I'd love to elevate this. I know there's, strategic planning going on right now. I think that there could be some goals set around becoming, fostering a culture of wellness in the district that definitely trickles down to the students in the classrooms. That it's something that becomes not just a program, but a belief that we all share and strive for. So anyway, I'm passionate about it. Appreciate your hard work so far and look forward to where we go in the future.
Thank you. Thank you for loving our kids and
Thank you.
each other. Appreciate it. 4.3. Advancement via individual determination. Avid, Director Evans, Principal Napier, and Pam McNulty.
We've said it a lot. And we're not 100% sure everybody knows what we're talking about when we talk about our AVID program. So we wanted to give you an overview of our AVID program. At future meetings, we hope to bring our students in front of you and share more of the stories and impact of what AVID has meant to us in D7. So that's the purpose and the whys, just to build some more background knowledge for our school board and community about what we've taken on as a district. AVID has a mission statement. It's to close the opportunity gap by preparing all students to be college and career ready for success in a global society. And we put that alongside the Grants Pass School District mission statement, just to show that we are working to reach all of our students and help to prepare them for post-secondary outcomes. Why did we start AVID? Ryan could probably speak to this better than me. But he a number of years ago, let's say why did we do? I put you on the spot.
I think we needed a common focus to kind of bring best practice to this high school in a lot of capacities, of best serving students in the classroom and culture and climate, and I would have to bring that to this one.
At the time that he was looking for that as the high school principal, the Nike Foundation, who invests a lot of money into education in the state of Oregon, gave Grants Pass School District a grant that sent us to a leadership conference and to a showcase. You heard about our first showcase. And those two activities really wait a minute, we think this is a fit for us. So in the summer of 2016, we took a team to Summer Institute. That is a 3-day training during the summer. We were focused on the 9th grade elective, of which Michelle was our first AVID elective teacher. She's going to tell you a little bit more about AVID elective as we go here, but that's the year we started. And we started really small, and worked to grow and to expand what we were doing. The following year, we added the 10th grade elective and our 8th grade elective. In 18-19, we were to 7th through 11th. And then 4 years in, we had our first graduates of Avid. You see the year, 2020. So Michelle, who had those kiddos for 4 years, and you develop a really strong relationship with your kids, those graduates didn't get to experience the traditional high school graduation experience. But Michelle made a lot of efforts to make it very special for them. Later on, you're going to hear from some of those Avid elective students and where they are now. We actually have letters in the board packet from a number of not only the class of 2020, but other classes as well. And how we have just continued to make an impact on the students we serve. Our goal has been to expand to Avid school-wide, so it hasn't been all about electives. So as you see us grow out, our goal has been, how do we make sure these strategies that were their best practice, that it's what all teachers know is good instructional practice. How do we ensure it's consistent across our school system? And have really done great work with that. Pam leading the charge with the Avid site team at Grants Pass High School. In 22-23, we added our first 2 elementary schools, Lincoln and Highland. And this past year, and 22-20, typo there, 23-24, it's full K-12 implementation with all of our sites coming on board. But what does that work mean? So we're going to tell you a little bit more about what it is.
So Avid really focuses on what we call the college and career readiness framework. And that goes back to that mission of wanting all kids to be college and career ready by the time they leave District 7 and move on to something else. And so we're going to watch a short video on the explanation of what this college and career readiness framework is, and how we use that to guide our practices. And I'm hopeful that when I click this, dang it, just kidding. Okay. Otherwise, I just. Any luck, or am I talking?
He doesn't see a video on the original file.
That's okay.
Okay, but now I can.
Maybe it's on the next, go to the next one.
Nope.
Okay,
Okay.
let's talk about it.
One more. I need my glasses. Okay. So the triangle itself is sitting on these kind of 4 gray boxes. Those are the 4 domains of Avid, and it focuses on instruction, systems, leadership, and culture. And we're going to talk here in a little bit about what that is currently looking like at Grants Pass High School. There are 2 parts, really 3 parts to the college and career readiness framework. One is what students need, and that's the top portion. And I for real can't see that far.
Rigorous academic preparedness.
Thank you.
Opportunity knowledge and student agency. So those are the 3 things students need.
Right. And then the bottom is what we as educators do to help students with those 3 things on top. So insist on rigor, break down barriers, align the work. I really gotta go to the IDOC and advocate for students. Oh, man. And then behind it all is relational capacity. And we know that without building relationships with kids, without taking the time to build those connections to earn their trust, for us to trust them, the rest of this stuff is never going to happen. So we focus a lot on building relationships is the key. And when you have that, all of these other things become a lot easier to do. And then student success increases. So that's kind of the gist. Avid did it way better on the video. That's the gist of the college and career readiness framework.
Hi, I'm Pam McNulty. I don't know a lot of you guys, so I want to introduce myself. I get the really cool job of being the Avid site coordinator at Grants Pass High School and also being an instructional coach. So working with teachers and like Trish and Michelle mentioned, like I got the joy of doing some of that planning for like the Avid showcase. I spent several years teaching the Avid elective. I call them my babies, but they're like almost grown-ups now. They graduated in 2022, so you'll see Soph Sletter in there. So I just wanted to kind of share with you like our Avid system. And one of the things I want to make sure that like we're kind of clear on here, because we talk about the Avid elective, but we also have Avid school-wide and we have Avid district-wide. So the way that we really look at it is that every kid in D7 is an Avid kid, but some of them just happen to belong to the Avid elective. The kids who belong to the Avid elective, we'll talk about like what maybe makes them a better fit for the Avid elective as opposed to just getting Avid school-wide. So our acronym, we use it all the time, but advancement via individual determination. A lot of that piece, that ID at the end is super important to us. This is that student agency. This is that students have to want it. And that's part of getting into the program. So all of our kids are Avid kids, but how do you get into the Avid elective? So in February, I get data. So do the other site coordinators from the middle schools, because they also run their Avid 7 and Avid 8. We get data. That data has a whole bunch of information on it. They create rubric levels for us, and they create kind of this, like, here's the ideal range of rubric scores for an Avid kiddo. We're looking for kids who are kind of middle of the road academically, that might get lost in high school because they're not floundering here at the bottom and we're putting all those supports in, but they're not here at the top and they're going to always advocate for themselves. So this isn't a detractor. It doesn't mean that like you can't get an Avid, but when we're looking at those rubrics, we're looking for kind of those middle of the road kids. We're usually looking for like first generation college kids, if that is relevant. We are looking for students who not just academically are middle of the road, we're also looking for students who attend school, who attendance is not the reason why they're not excelling. Maybe there's just some barriers that have been in the way and we can provide the supports necessary for those barriers. So we pull this data, we present to the middle schools, we take our Avid kiddos down, they present to the middle school students, we talk to them at 8th grade parent night, we send targeted letters, and then we let them apply. Every single middle schooler who applies to Avid at the high school gets an interview. It doesn't matter whether you are down here and you have all of these struggling pieces and you're a striving learner, but we know maybe you're not going to be the right fit. It doesn't matter. We're going to interview you. So we hold interviews with every single kid who applies. I sit in on the interviews. Whoever the Avid elective teacher is going to be, they sit in on the interviews. We have a counselor that's assigned to each Avid level. They come in as well and they sit in on those interviews. And if we're lucky, we get to pull in a middle school teacher as well, because sometimes those middle school teachers have a little extra insight that we just need. And we talk to them about why Avid would be a good fit for them. And we're constantly refining this practice, but what we're learning is that our retention rate in the Avid elective has been increasing. And we can pull that data later as we get a little bit more off the end of the COVID stuff, because our kids who are graduating from Avid 12 this year were freshmen in the midst of COVID. They actually started their Avid program online. So we'll have a little bit more information hopefully soon on that, but that's the process for getting into the Avid elective. We look for, am I hitting the wrong button? Oh, I got it. These are the kinds of things that we do in the Avid elective. As it was mentioned, when we looked at like that triangle, we saw that relational capacity piece, like that is the framework for everything. Most of our Avid students will tell you that like it's a family, it's a place for them to belong. They are still like, I still get messages from my students who graduated. They want me to share in the joys and the sorrows of their life. Like they will forever be like my kids. Sorry. So we focus a lot. Okay, love my kids. We focus a lot on WICR, which is a term that fits within Avid. So it's this emphasis upon writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. Building these skills is what helps our students be successful in high school, but that's not our end goal. We want our students to be successful in elementary, and now those skills build to middle school, and those skills build to high school, and then those skills build to life beyond high school. We talk about this scaffolding piece, right? This idea that we have to help our kids and support them to be able to get them to where they want to be.
We focus on self-advocacy. We coach our Avid elective students how to have conversations with adults. We coach them on how to do presentations. I have a group of Avid students who graduated last year that are going to be coming back next week because they're on Christmas break a little earlier than us, get to come back and talk to our Avid elective students and share with them, like, here's what's been going on in college. Like, here's what shocked me. Here's what I've learned. And they are, if you've ever seen an Avid student present, like, it's one of those moments where you're like, this is it. This is the kid. Like, this is what we want our students to strive for. They're just fantastic. We focus on future plans, and I really want to emphasize that, like, it's that college and career readiness, right? We are not pushing every kid towards a 4-year college. It's not the right fit for every kid. Maybe it's a trade school. As Michelle mentioned, like, my mom runs apprenticeship programs. So, like, coming from a family that is like within the trade industry, that's a huge emphasis. We think that that's super important. It could be military, but what we want to do is we want our kids to have limitless opportunities. And so if they want to go this route of trade school, or they want to go this route of apprenticeship, we still want them to take classes to make it so that they can apply to a 4-year school if they change their mind at the last minute. Because sometimes they change. Now, you know this about high school kids. Sometimes they change their minds. But focusing on these pieces, we're back on track. So our Avid 9 kids and our Avid 10 kids, we go do college visits. And if ever you want to come and hang out on a college visit, I will take you, because the moment those kids put their feet on the ground on a college campus and it starts to be real, and they have that moment of like, oh, maybe I could do this. Maybe I would fit at Oregon State, or I would fit at Western, or I would fit at SOU. It's a very powerful thing to see, and to see those things start to kind of click together for these guys. They do the work necessary. We talk about scholarships. How are you going to pay for college? Because that's a detracting piece for a lot of kids. Like, that is scary. How do you pay for college? And we will help you figure it out. Talk about this gradual release of responsibility. Like, eventually, like, we got to let go. They got to fly on their own, and we've got to hope that we've done everything that we can. And our students really become experts on all things related to Wicker. I probably talked way too much. I'm so sorry. I get really excited. I talked earlier about the 4 domains. That was kind of that gray area in the college and career readiness framework. And so when we're looking at the high school and our Avid site team and what we're doing within these areas. So in culture, we're really trying to focus on college and career going. Part of that is the career day and talking about college opportunities, but also job opportunities, trade school opportunities, because every kid has a different path in life, and that's okay. We try and collect survey data from staff and students to help guide us. And the focus is all students. We talk about the Avid elective and what an impact that makes. I know that I wish I could have started that earlier in my teaching career, because it made me such a better teacher, and it changed my life. I tell people that all the time. But we want these skills to be for all students. And so that's where that push to school-wide and consistently talking with staff about college and career readiness and doing PD to help them be better teachers. In leadership, the Avid site coordinator, the Avid site team, like I said, we have a consistent 27 to 30 member team. They meet once a month, and they really work to help better our school and our opportunities for kids. Part of the work we've done is promoting advanced classes to all kids, and advanced classes could be advanced math, but it also could be manufacturing or welding, or, encouraging those kids to go far in CTE. Systems, we interact with the site team, our site council, the Avid elective. So really connecting all of our systems together, so we're all accomplishing the same goal. This group also works on study hall lessons. We have study hall once a week. And so as we want to share out information to all students, they help develop those. And then our instruction team really focuses on best instructional practices. Wicker, a lot of our instruction team members, they're the ones that present PD. They're the ones that share with staff how to do things in the classroom, because teachers like hearing from their peers. And not that they don't love hearing from Pam and I, but we aren't in the classroom right now. And so hearing from people that are in the trenches is great. Anything you want to add to those 4?
No, you said it magnificently.
So you guys have letters from Avid students in your binder. These are just a few quotes. Lindsay is one of my 2020 kids. She struggled academically and confidence. I always say that the Avid elective teacher is 90% cheerleader, 10% the rest of it, because these are kids that want to do something in life. They just don't know how or what that's going to be. And so encouraging them, building their confidence. She was a kid that hardly spoke, had very little confidence in her academic abilities. And she's currently at U of O, did a lot of self-advocacy for her struggles in math, but really persevered through quite a bit of stuff and was super proud to write her a letter of recommendation to get into the U of O and get some resources. And she's an amazing kiddo. Allie Thurston is a kiddo that is currently a flight attendant. That was her path and she loves it. She is working for a smaller airline right now, but is hopeful to get into the big show here soon. But when, she keeps me updated and I heard she, finished flight attendant school, I was like, that is the perfect job for you because you're so social and you're so genuine. And I'm sure all of her passengers absolutely love her.
And Soph was one of mine and one of my absolute favorite human beings. She may not have been the perfect candidate if you just look at the data, which is why we do our interviews. She was not a first generation college kid, but she was painfully shy. And she did not really have those social skills. And over the years to watch her just build relationships and to blossom and bloom and at the end, do presentations and go to the middle school and be this person to know who she was as Avid 9 and to see her older was a huge piece. And to watch her in college, I get messages from her every once in a while that she is she's thriving. And she probably would have gone to college without Avid, but she wouldn't be as successful as she is in college. And she's a kid who maybe wouldn't have stuck with college, but because she had all those skills to help her advocate for herself and to be part of study groups and to build those relationships, she is thriving and she absolutely loves being up at Linfield.
So in closing, you often have asked, what can the board do to support? What is the board's role? And since 2016, we've had a lot of board support. It does take staffing, resources. We fund a lot of professional development using a variety of district resources. That includes Summer Institute, path trainings, going to showcases, going to Avid National, of which I just want to say we were first-time presenters at Avid National, the three of us, but these two really were the rock stars of the show. Because we really have developed something that is something other districts can model after. We do a lot with parent nights, community events. So the board support is really key to making Avid work in District 7. It was important for us to share that with you today, that as we go forward, you knew a little bit more about this thing we keep saying, Avid, what it is and what the work is we're doing. Do you have any questions for us?
Member Sable, I've got a comment and a couple of questions. I think this is awesome. Obviously every child is precious and we want to help everybody, but there's a lot that kind of get through the high school experience and they're okay. But being able to reach these kids that are, dealing with confidence issues, mental health issues, all those things that they talked about in the letter, and build them up so we're putting their lives on a better trajectory, I think is magic, and it's what we should be doing. I just love that. I had a couple clarification questions. So so this has been going since 2016, and how many kids total have gone through the Avid program?
Oh gosh, that's on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Yeah,
Okay.
graduated from the program itself or
Or
Give you an
could you
exact
say at
number.
least how many are in it right now?
So 10% of our current population are part of the Avid elective, and that's a goal that is pretty standard across all schools and districts that have. And that's just at Grants West High School is 10% of our population. We always start off with more in the ninth grade, and it does tend to, it drops off just kids get interested in different things, they end up moving away a variety of stuff, but we've been able to maintain 10% of our student population, which we're pretty happy with.
That's awesome.
And then as far as getting in it, if I heard correctly, there's, you know, data-driven decisions that kind of gives them scores that might signal a kid is eligible for that, or teacher recommendation.
Yeah, and I will also say, we send our Avid elective kids from the high school down to the middle school. And then work with the middle school Avid elective kids, and we talk to all 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. Because I feel like kids are our best salesmen, really.
Yeah.
And they talk about what the Avid elective means to them from 8th graders all the way through 12th graders. And kids have an opportunity to ask questions. So we really promote to all the kids at the middle schools. We use the data to give us at least some target kids that we feel would benefit from the program, but we really promote to all kids can apply. On average, I don't know how many interviews these guys do each year.
So they can self-select, and you interview them and look at all the factors and.
Right, and we do also look at kids, we will recruit and add kids to the Avid elective up through 2nd semester of their sophomore year. After that, we've built such solid systems and structures that it's really difficult to jump in at the 11th grade level, because now we're moving forward into some other things. But we will constantly have teachers that are like, hey, I've got this kid in class and I think they'd be a great fit for Avid. Did they apply before? Have you talked to them? And so Pam will have a conversation with those kiddos, and we'll do very small, like, 5 or 6 applicant, whoever applies, we'll interview right before the end of the semester. And if they're a fit, we'll add them in.
What about parent or guardian referral? Do parents know about it so they can call and say,
The
hey?
letters that we send go home to families so that they can look at it. We also will send parent square messages again to all 8th graders from both middle schools, explaining what the program is and here's the information about the application.
We also present it at 8th grade parent,
Yep.
8th grade family night every year, so parents who attend that,
Awesome.
that have done that. have access
Thank you
to
very
it.
much. I think that's great. I enjoyed reading those experiences.
They're pretty special kids.
This member Schmidt, 2 things. One, last meeting, I spoke about a young man who I knew, who was an avid student actually, and he was seeking an appointment to the Academy, the Air Force Academy. He received a nomination, but he didn't get in. Now, that wasn't the end of his story, but I think when I look at this and I listen to this, I think Avid played a large part in that, because what he did is he regrouped and found another way to take the same path. So I'm looking forward to seeing him next week. He's going to get out of basic training in the Air Force, but he's going to be starting at Southern Oregon University next September. And the Air Force is going to be paying for that. So he's able to get his college experience, he's able to eventually get his commission and able to do what he wants. But he obviously took the lessons that were taught. The second question I asked, though, and maybe you answered this already and I didn't hear it. You mentioned that Avid is incorporated, that every student is an Avid student. Okay, explain that more. If they're not in the class, but when you say every student is an Avid student.
Yeah,
what do you mean by
because
that?
they're really the heart of Avid are best practice teaching strategies, right? So they are lessons, they are activities that incorporate things like that writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading, those pieces that we know help students learn at a higher level, tend to focus a little bit more on rigorous information and rigorous access to content. And so because we have so many members of our staff that are trained in Avid strategies, they are implementing these in their classes across the board. Even if it's not an Avid elective, a classroom teacher is going to be using a lot of these Avid practices and these Avid strategies with their students, regardless of whether they are Avid elective students or not students.
Where
So,
do they get those strategies from?
as Trish was talking about, that Summer Institute is a piece. I mean, that's probably our biggest piece of training for our staff. Just because it's so immersive and there's so much time spent together that we get to collaborate. Path trainings happen kind of just randomly as Avid has the need, or there's a need in the community for it. We as professional development, we do Avid trainings regularly. Staff does, we like to empower our staff to also lead some of these trainings as well. So that's often where those trainings come from. Most of our Wednesday morning staff meetings, we implement Avid strategies within the staff meeting, so teachers see them, experience them, and then can implement them in their classes.
One last thing, I'm certainly, my heart is in the college preparatory experience. And I know that that's not the answer or the pathway for every student, I understand that too. The question I have is though, since you've started this program, and I know COVID may have skewed the results a bit, have you seen an increase in the number of young people who are applying for colleges?
Specifically from the Avid elective or from Grants Pass High
In
School?
Grants Pass High School in general?
Uh,
Because if you're touching all students.
It's
then-
definitely been skewed by COVID.
Yeah.
Have I already shared with you guys the post-secondary outcomes? We have data and graphs
Yeah.
that we can show you in terms of, it's about 50% of Grants Pass High School students go on to a 2 or 4 year college after high school.
Yeah, I've seen those numbers. I'm just
Okay.
thinking over time.
It's stayed
Since the-
pretty stable the last 6-7 years at about 50%.
Did it increase post or post Avid?
That first graduating class is
Did it-
unfortunately that
COVID.
like COVID,
Yeah.
our COVID babies.
Yeah.
And so,
So it's gonna take some time to get.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see where the data goes in the
Yeah.
next couple of years. With those pieces,
Well,
especially.
it
for-
incorporates all the essential skills for college counseling and that sort of stuff. So I think that's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to be interested and see if
Yeah.
it rolls results.
Agreed.
Thank you. Are you done?
Yeah.
Thank you, ladies. I think that Joe, to answer part of that, my daughter was introduced in her middle school social studies class on the note taking things, and that it made her interested in it. Kind of, they're big on organization.
They call them,
ish.
we call them focus notes
Yeah.
now, but yes, Cornell
It
style.
started as
and-
Cornell and then it's evolved. Avid has, yeah.
So when we say all students are, they're using those types of
Yeah.
things in the classroom that do help them.
Great.
With their organization is a huge one. You guys didn't talk about that much, but that's, I'm watching my daughter as a freshman this year, and I'm like a freshman in college thinking, holy moly, it's her.
It's the same story as that young man.
It's gonna help them be organized to pay their bills, let alone make sure they get their same.
I'm next too.
Oh, my
You're gonna get sick of hearing.
waiting for you to leave.
Next agenda
Okay.
item.
Let's 20. Oh, yes, run, be free.
Students in the government class, this is a good time to tap out if you'd like to go.
You're welcome to stay.
Thank you for listening.
Listening.
Stay around for a while.
Nobody wants to stay? Bummer. I did as a joke say, if you forgot your paper, you have to stay the whole time, and one of them just that.
You're not going
They got their signatures.
Yeah.
They're smarter.
He
thought he got to leave too.
Oh.
Thank you for corralling them and bringing them back.
22-23 student investment account annual report.
All right.
There, okay. So there's a couple of things we need you to take, that we need to do tonight, for the, student investment account, or what's now called the integrated plan. We're gonna tell you a little bit about what we did in 22-23, just so you know what it is, we've had to report on publicly. We're required to do this. In your packet are narrative responses to our, like, how are our outcomes? What are we seeing? Are these investments benefiting our students in ways that we had hoped or targeted? So as we go through this very brief presentation, the goal is to help you better understand how we've used our student investment account dollars, and then to share with you how we have reported to the Oregon Department of Education our outcomes. Also in your board packet later is the grant agreement that we need you to take action on for the student investment account for the 23-24 school year. I think it's actually 23-25. It's 2-year agreement. We've presented to you at past board meetings about our requirements in that, our longitudinal performance growth targets. And so when you get to that action item, if you have any additional questions, we also need there to be open to any public comment that on how we've been using our student investment account dollars, or any feedback from the public about what we'll be doing going forward. Does that make sense what we're here doing?
Yes, sir.
Tell us how much money we're talking about.
Student investment account for Grants Pass School District is about 4.5 million.
We're about $125,000 at Newbridge, and Newbridge eventually may get integrated into the Grants Pass total grant, but as of right now, it is not. So we are SIA light at Newbridge.
So we're trying to give you information about both grants and both grant agreements that you need to take action on. Okay. So what do we use our dollars on? You've heard Tim talk about this quite a bit lately. It's going to be an ongoing conversation. Student behavior is our number one targeted need of intervening right now. And so we've invested using student investment dollars in more elementary behavior intervention specialists, an additional stepping stones classroom at the elementary level. We have a very large contract with Options, our mental health therapists, because we're educators. We're not in the mental health therapy business. We need help, and Options is our local provider that does that. We've also added SEL counselors at both middle schools. Another aspect is supporting diverse populations, which
Yes.
Danny.
So a portion of what I do is funded through SIA as I help the district with doing equity, inclusion, and coordination for the district. We do homeless liaison support. We have some help in that area to help our kids with the needs and things that they have. We have a special education coordinator who helps coordinate sped across the district, and thank goodness we were able to find additional school nurses to help serve our students for the last couple of years. We're very blessed in that area as well.
There's been a real increased need for serving these populations, so investing dollars there has been important. We have added to the classroom. We have 2 teachers at the high school, 2 teachers at the middle school, additional educational assistants at both elementary and middle school. So a huge investment in people, because it takes people to do the work. So those classroom supports have been invaluable. And then there is some money set aside in SIA for professional development activities. One example would be AVID. Another good example would be some of our behavior support trainings that we've sent folks to.
Great to have a question. Member Sable. The new positions that we're at, is that as of this school year, or when is that as of?
All those positions that are listed up there are from last year. That's what last year. We did add some additional teaching positions to the 23-25 grant.
Thank you.
Very proud of what happens at Newbridge. I take very little credit for it. Dave Regal, a lot of credit for it. Teachers that make it happen, a lot of credit for it. I believe we are the only Oregon Youth Authority program in the state that has a real kind of traditional looking school model where kids go and they get regular classroom instruction and those types of things. It's not just a packet program or all a Edgenuity online program, but we actually have real teachers teaching students. So one of the things that the SIA grant helps with at Newbridge is it helps provide for a bit of the funding for a social science teaching position, which again helps us keep class sizes smaller and that kind of stuff. So I'm very proud of the teaching conditions at Newbridge, and we have the highest attendance rate in the district.
Good
Transportation costs.
There you go.
Students are walkers.
You have 100%, you have 100% meal participation.
Yeah.
And their food is paid for by OYA, correct?
Student supports, additional funds are used with student investment account to help support our summer school offerings. It does support some after-school transportation that we've not had before. That has been a huge bonus these last few years. We removed class fees at Grants Pass High School, trying to make courses more accessible to all students. This includes paying for AP assessments, college courses, etc. We reduced our pay-to-play fees, again, trying to encourage more students to participate in our athletic and extracurricular activities. And SIA dollars have helped us to start up the automotive program. So that's, oh, I think there's one more.
Well, again, at Newbridge, one of the student supports is we have a college and career advocate position that's paid for. So occasionally, more than occasionally, students either get a GED or they graduate from high school and they're still at Newbridge. And so we work to make sure that they have access to courses through Road Community College, and they get to do career exploration and that type of thing. So it's a good position, and we're proud that students are able to access college while they're incarcerated. So.
Oh, there's a couple of other things. We do, because of our need for data and information, we were able to fund an additional tech person, our program manager. We also help service the HVAC debt service with SIA dollars, and of course pay indirect costs, which are basically indirect costs cover the cost of much of our business department and how we operate our system. So that's how we use the dollars. The narrative that's in your packet. So out on we are required to put on our website, and it's out there under district grant funding. The budget, so it shows you line by line how we use all elements of our integrated plan, not just the student investment account, but also our high school success dollars. We're required to report quarterly and annually. So our annual report is out there. You have a copy of the narrative responses. And then for 23-24, putting out again our budget, the grant agreement, which is for you to take action on today. All of those must be posted out there. So it is out there for our community. All of our activities were based on community engagement activities that we've conducted, have continued to conduct annually to say, are these investments the right investments? Are we on track? So we're constantly monitoring, adjusting to make sure that return on investment for how we prioritize the dollars is being realized. Any questions about the student investment account?
You apply for it? The grant is.
Yes, you have to do this process, and you have to submit on their website the grant application. So we have, in the process of submitting the grant application, we need the board to approve it so that we can say, yes, we presented it at the board approved it, and send that to the state. And then they will begin to get paid for the.
Yes.
SIA.
We would like that 4.5 million to be.
And do we do it annually? Or is it?
I believe it's, I
I
think it's
Sorry.
every 2 years.
Pop quiz?
I'm pretty sure it would say on that grant
Okay.
agreement how long it's for.
think it's through 25.
But we will constantly come back to you. We're required to report to you and to our community. How are we doing on our investments? So this isn't the last you'll hear about it. You'll hear lots of updates as we go along.
Are there any questions? Yes.
I don't know if it's so much a question, but we talked about that when we do our budgeting process, that we're gonna get a better representation of that money in it as it relates to the budget we're working on. I mean, I realize this goes with this grant, but during our budget process, we want to see how that works together with the other funds we're using. So I think we made that request. I just want to make sure, keeping it forefront.
Okay, we can do that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I forget to look this way. No. All right.
And this is the ongoing grant that is paid through from the new corporate tax.
Correct.
So as long as the business in Oregon keeps doing well, we'll still be able to apply for money.
5.0. Big guy.
Our Avid group mentioned that they were national presenters at the national conference. We have 2 other employees in the district present at a national conference. Christine Mooney and Missy Fitzsimmons presented at the Belong Partners, which used to be Sound Discipline, and that was in DC. Yep. So, and that was last week. So, but we have 5 folks in the district that are national presenters and recognized for their hard work and great work that they do. So I just wanted to give that shout out as well. And thank you, all 5 of you. So,
Kind of a big deal. Thank you.
yeah. Kind of a big deal.
Kind of.
We have the letter from the city in response to our letter that was sent end of October-ish, I think, early November. The one that Bill Rance sent for us. Sent to the city on our behalf. If anyone had any comments, questions, they wanted to discuss any part of that.
As I find it.
It was out of order.
Right after the wellness policy.
Thank you.
Yeah, back under reports.
So my interpretation of the letter would be that, they're denying that they're in violation of the lease agreement.
I think they're saying that they have taken steps to make the park safer.
Yeah, yes, but they are clearly saying the city is not causing this problem. Right, so they're not doing something intentionally to break the lease, that they're being forced by the injunction. But in spite of that, they're taking these actions, we're doing, talk about the buffers and things that they're doing. So I don't think it's too surprising, their response. I think they probably predicted that they would respond as such.
True, and we're definitely very appreciative of the efforts that they've made in the parks to make it better for our kids. But at the same time, they spent a lot of ink on a court case, which has no bearing on our lease. And gonna say their response to the lease agreement not being violated is, we're not doing it, it's somebody else. Right. But nevertheless, the lease is violated. So I would still urge us as a board to pursue saying that the lease agreement is broken and see if the city would renegotiate with us.
In our previous letter, did we just let them know that they were in violation? But we did not offer
There were no solutions
let's
offered,
sit down.
no bartering. It was just simply a notification at Gary's request. And we did it step by step and started with, we believe you're in violation, period.
Right.
And their answer is, no, we don't believe we're in violation. What we're dealing with is something that's out of our hands, but they do end with, we remain committed to finding solutions that align with legal mandates, mitigate community concerns, and uphold rights of all individual parties. So I would agree with Gary that the next potential step could be, well, let's get together and renegotiate the lease.
Right.
And we probably need to talk ahead of time. That's probably an executive session thing, I would imagine. We want to talk about what do we want that renegotiated lease to look like?
If I just wanted to add our letter, which was very well written, I don't know if that was all you.
No, that was all Bill Ramsey.
Yeah, it also specifically requested that the city take action to remedy. To address these nuisance conditions. So it was twofold, you know, as the landlord, we say you're in violation, and per the terms of the agreement, please correct those violations.
And they're saying they are. So in the third or fourth paragraph down, they're basically saying, here's what we are doing within the bounds of the injunction. So they believe that they are. That's what they're telling us.
Well, they're taking action. But those parts that we consider violation, they're saying we have no control because of the court injunction. But the court injunction doesn't apply to us and doesn't apply to the lease agreement. So I maintain there's still a violation of the lease. And the best remedy would be for us to renegotiate that lease.
You agree with Nathan with the last sentence, that's what they're saying, that they're open to solutions?
Yeah, I think we can help them find some solutions.
Yeah, I've got a couple in my head.
Yeah.
To share.
Does they go with the injunction?
No, obviously we want legal counsel to look at any idea we come up with for it, but I've brought it up a couple times, but I think there's a dual management option here. Where we deal with certain things that if we do feel those things are a threat to our kids or our community. And they have other responsibilities within that lease.
So let's just take the next really small step, which is essentially send a letter back. Saying we still think they're in violation and
Let's huddle.
we would like to renegotiate if they're open to that and see what happens with that step.
Do we need to be that formal? Can we, looking at, we remain committed to finding solutions to align with legal mandates, mitigate community concerns, and uphold the rights of all involved parties.
I think.
Can we have a committee versus?
We want to have Bill write a letter and tell them that we want to have a conversation about renegotiating the contracts.
Conversation about,
Renegotiating the contract. But I think it should be done in a letter. So the
formality is a letter, I think it much more serious, be taken much more seriously.
Right.
Yeah, I think we keep it positive and feed off their last line and say, we too are committed to finding solutions. And we think we have some, and we'd like to use our lease with you as a way to find those solutions.
That's the will of the board.
Do we need formal action or?
Anyone against me having Bill Ransom create a letter and sending it on to the city?
That's great.
You want the thumbs up?
No, I'm
Okay.
I'm good. We're okay, right? Yep. We're gonna take care of. I'll check with Bill on his availability between now and Christmas and see if we can meet. It may happen right after. I don't know what his availability is.
Where's the easy button?
I will do that. What's that?
Where's the easy?
Easy button.
There you go.
That's Tanya.
So the second thing. Under superintendent 5.2, you received some letters from some concerned parents about the book, The House on the Cerulean Sea. And thought maybe you want to have a conversation with regard to that and how that went. So any concerns that the board might have?
I'm in the process of reading it right now. I just picked it up, so I'm in the process of reading it, so I don't have any thoughts at this point in time, just reading at this point.
I think the majority of the concerns that have been expressed really are not so much about the book itself, but more about how were parents notified
Yeah.
that the book was questionable.
Yeah.
And so forth. And Trish, you're willing to speak on that a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, what we did and what we could do in the future.
Sorry, my brain's not working quite well. I'm a little.
Because
I'm not supposed to say anything about it. Our high school language arts department recommended the book, The House on the Cerulean Sea 2 years ago. They, at the time, worked as a department, to put that book in place, and work with it with our students. Ms. Tyrell's here and can probably speak to that process a little bit better than I can. The work that the department has already identified that they are embarking on, and I'm actually meeting with their department lead tomorrow, along with Mrs. Timms. The syllabus is really kind of our main way of communicating. And if you look at the syllabuses from the classes that taught The House on the Cerulean Sea, we're talking about how we can make that more transparent, informational about all literature, not just that particular book, but all the materials that we read in the classroom. In addition, the department has already been throwing around some other ideas, including student choice and voice in terms of a selection of reading materials. But the department is done reading the book for this school year, and so wants some time to kind of process, like, how can we do a better job of making that more transparent, apparent to our parents, and communicating that with them. That
Yes.
clarify?
I guess, Member Sable, I guess I would just say, I saw your response in the email. I thought that was a good response and appropriate response. And I feel like you guys are taking a good try at trying to, alleviate that issue. It probably doesn't have to be said, but I'll go ahead and say it because I like saying things. But obviously, things like this come up. I think we can all agree that transparency is good. Options are good. There are thousands of great books that are excellent, that could be chosen. Discretion is good. And so the more that we can be transparent to parents and in anything we're doing in education and the options, and the more we provide options, I think the better off we will all be. It'll make it more inclusive for everybody. So I'm stating the obvious.
That is our goal, be more transparent. Yep.
So just to be clear, right now, and Trish, since you were talking, but our only method of informing parents of anything that might be controversial or someone might object to is via the syllabus. Is that
One of the vehicle? I know that when and this isn't exclusive to our language arts department.
Sure.
Teachers are always trying to communicate with parents about what's coming up in science or what are we teaching in social studies. They use different vehicles to do that. So it's one of the main consistent sources across all classes at the high school. This is the content of what we're teaching. But there's other avenues that many content areas take.
So
I don't know
this-
if you have something to add to that.
Yeah, I mean, being the use of potentially Parent Square, if they send stuff out to classes. Some teachers may send something home in a paper version that comes home in the middle of the semester or the quarter to notify them of something that's upcoming. Some of that just depends on comfort and how they best feel they can get it out to all parties involved. Some do a combination of both.
We also use Canvas as a vehicle. A lot of our teachers put a lot of their materials on Canvas, which parents can be an observer on Canvas.
And so you can look at those materials, the syllabus is up there all year. And so it's teaching parents how to become that observer in Canvas, so they have access to that. And
Those instructions are on the Grants Pass website as well, and I know we share that information at our back to school nights and eighth grade parent nights as well, so that parents can stay as involved as possible.
So right now, as I'm hearing this, it's up to the teacher's discretion and comfort as to how parents are notified.
Every teacher is required to send home a syllabus or to provide an electronic copy of the syllabus to their kids and families. So
But-
that is a given.
Relative to anything that might be deemed questionable or objectionable or whatever right term we want to use, but right now, it's up to teachers how they might relay that information. I'm just trying to understand, that's it.
For our health, I'm gonna use health as an example. We have a form that they all use that's consistent. That's what the English department will be talking about. How do we make that be more consistent across all 4 teachers that taught that particular book this year? So for the House on This Resiliency, that's our goal. In other content areas, we do have consistent messaging.
Thank you. So one of the things I think a number of us might have concerns about, but I'll speak for myself, is the potential for major issues with material that families don't feel comfortable with their kids hearing, reading, what have you. And I know we had a discussion about another book recently that was approved by the board that had some language, some taking the Lord's name in vain and
Some D's and H's maybe.
yeah, a couple of other swear words, or some might consider them that. And that there would be something that went home to parents in advance of reading that book. This is why I requested that we remove the parents' rights policy today from our second and final reading, so that we can talk about kind of how we make this a little bit more clear and straightforward and not potentially up to the discretion of the teacher and how they feel comfortable. That just feels squishy to me. And I want to be very, very, very clear. And I've read some policies, although I don't have the answer today. I apologize for not having more on that, but on how other districts might do that and how there's essentially 3 different modes of communication that goes home to parents. And definitions are, I think, what gets challenging with that, but that's something I'd personally like to talk as a board about and as a policy committee. This just highlights this a ton for me, so I'm frustrated that we didn't have something in place in advance of this. And I know this went through the PA's Parent Advisory Council Committee. I think it was 2 years ago, you mentioned. I remember hearing about it at the time. I don't know the detail that was given back then, but anyways, I hope that we can fix things like this going forward.
Yep, we will talk about it at policy committee. Come up with a better approach.
Let's go on. Any other questions or comments? Under superintendent reports? 6.0 board reports and special concerns. We do have 6.1 strategic planning. Does anybody else have anything before we start? Jan?
I just want to encourage everyone to attend one of the 2 holiday concerts next week. The music department puts on a fantastic holiday show and it's always wonderful.
So that's. And we're missing the South concert.
As we speak.
Yep.
Okay. Joe, choose your plan.
Okay, is there I think I have a PowerPoint that's gonna be going up, so is there a clicker somewhere? Oh, is it?
Do you have a clicker license?
I have a clicker license, yeah.
Okay.
Chad signed it.
What did I say?
Clicker license.
I'm
That's
ready.
ready?
I get to sign up.
Not yet.
Okay. I should do weddings now too.
Click it from there. Christine.
Maybe we'll play Mrs. McNulty now.
And I think there's still some student Christmas cards that are
I need
available
to
for
get some.
purchase.
Okay.
So do you pick them from the competition?
Yeah.
Just from the competition?
Yeah.
You're selling them? Are they so good?
Is there a musical next week also, or just holiday?
He's about to go do this.
Holiday concerts.
Okay.
18th and 19th.
Got it.
Cell phone. Can't do it for ages.
Well, I'm pushing.
Should we move on? Come back. Move on and come back.
How close are we? Are we?
His face still looks confused.
Yeah, you can come back to it. You want to take care of your.
Can I go to 8.0?
Dates. Important dates.
Yeah. Go to
Go.
your-
What? You got something?
Yes, I do.
Oh, go, Gary.
Okay. Well, I'd like to introduce a new potential topic for the board.
Go on. we're over here.
Since bathrooms has dropped off and we didn't have to deal with that anymore, I figured I needed a new one.
Reading.
Well, I do have hope and reading are still right up there.
Okay.
But this new one would be is sort of related to reading. For the board to have better information related to curriculum. I've been reading about things you can get outside groups to do curriculum audits. And so I don't have any kind of information at this point, but I could see like a curriculum audit for English, ELA, English Language Arts, as being good information for the board as we're trying to look at our policies and stuff like that, and for when curriculum comes to us to be approved. So just wanted to kind of plant that seed today that there's those kinds of things available. As I get more information, I'll bring that back to the board.
Is that in lieu of the parent advisory
No,
or in addition?
it's you can think of it as audit for your books. Right?
I don't think you want to think of
Okay,
audit for your book,
it's actually a good thing.
not your financial books. Got it.
Not us individually.
Thank you.
So what it would be, it would give the board information related to how well our, I shouldn't say how well, what our curriculum is doing related to the particular subject area and how it's being taught versus state standards, all that kind of stuff. It's just a tool for the board to be able to see the state of a particular area of our curriculum. And so it's like called a curriculum audit. So I don't know how much those things cost. I don't know a whole lot about it. It's just something I wanted to kind of. It's like when you.
Is that something that you could discuss with the superintendent and curriculum directors before discussing with us?
Well, it's actually a board level tool. And so the reason I was bringing it up today, it's kind of like when you buy a new car and you buy a Tesla. And then suddenly you see all these other Teslas on the road because now you have
Start
one,
noticing them.
right? You just notice it. So I'm bringing it up so the rest of the board members, as they're going about their daily lives, if something related to curriculum audits show up, they can focus on that, so they'll have better background information when we talk about it in the future. So I'm not saying we're doing it, I'm just saying it's a thing to think about.
Student learning is always good to think about. So. Okay, lady.
Excellent. Tanya, you good?
Good to go. Okay, first, this may be an action item tonight. It may not be. We'll see how it goes during the conversation. But I attended a meeting this afternoon, a strategic planning meeting this afternoon, led by the district staff, and Trish did just an absolute outstanding job discussing school vision and school mission. And we've had a school mission that's been in place for about 30 years or so. And we had a little workshop kind of looking at how could we tweak this mission to make it fit who we are today as a district, and how could we tweak this vision to fit who we are as a district. And during the process, she threw a slide up, and it had the pictures of 13 children. And it started at kindergarten and it went through their senior year, 13 different children. And what it did is it really struck me. I was in education for many, many years. And I've always spent time in my schools trying to define what a graduate would look like and how are we going to be more successful with our graduates and so forth and so on. And it struck me because I saw these 13 beautiful faces, and they were just as cute as they could be from kindergarten to becoming these adults by the time they were seniors. And then it was stated that 1 to 2 of those students, not those students in particular, but if you look at statistics, 1 to 2 of those students would not graduate. And that's heartbreaking when you think about that a young person is not going to graduate from school, and the impact that it's going to have on his life, his community's life, his family's life, and the world in general. And it reinforced my thoughts about this idea of strategic planning. What we are about as a district, more than anything else, we talk about these other things and they're important that we talk about, but we're talking about student learning. More important than anything else, our job is to teach young people, to prepare them for a challenging world ahead of us. And the only way we can do that is to strategically plan for it, to ensure that we are moving the institution in the appropriate direction to provide the best opportunity for all of those children, not just 90% of them, not 85% of them, but every single one of them. So I've been talking with the directors about strategic planning and with Tim about strategic planning. And I'm going to appeal to the board that this is a process that we should embark upon. It's absolutely essential to the success of the school or the district. The current plan, and there is a strategic planning committee and they work hard, but the current plan focuses primarily on program. Okay. It has been disrupted at times. Certainly COVID disrupted it. Changes in leadership in the district can disrupt it. And it lacks integration of goals because it doesn't have enough goals. Okay. The goals are primarily in the program area. But what Tommy does is extremely important for the education of young people. What our business manager does is extremely important for the education of our young people. What everybody does in this community, what your parents do, is extremely important for the education of our young people. And all of that has to be integrated into this process. And so this conversation about mission was really important because mission should be, it should be inspirational, it should be aspirational, and it should be value-based. There needs to be values that you feel are powerful, that you want to support. And when you do your strategic plan, you should be looking at that mission statement and that vision statement and saying, this is the direction we're going. This is our aspirational direction. And we're inspired by that to make this happen. So I'm going to be proposing that we embark on a 5-year strategic plan. And the reason I'm bringing this to the board is because the board, I don't sense, I can't say this for sure, has not been intimately involved in the process. We're only allowed to meet 3 at a time. Okay. So if you have more than 3 people at the meeting, it becomes an open meeting. Okay. Well, I think an open strategic planning meeting is a really good thing. Okay. You plan for the future of your district and you get as many people involved as possible. So if you look at what our responsibility as a board, our responsibility is to set goals and set vision. So when we do this work on vision and mission statement, the entire board should be involved in it in some way. Now, it certainly could be put together by other groups or by the curriculum committee that's in existence now, and then given to the board to review, look over, make changes to, whatever the case may be, or it could be done all together, or it could be part of the strategic planning process. Okay. But ideally, doing it before then would be really important to make sure we clarify what our mission is, that it's aspirational, inspirational, and has the values that we can attach a strategic plan to. So our job as a board, number one, is to set goals and vision. If you look at the division of duties, OSBA lays out, hire superintendent, number 2, set goals and vision. And then on the bottom, it says, we're supposed to talk about what needs to be done, and we're supposed to make sure that the ends are met. Superintendent administrative work, they do the hands-on work. They put the goals and vision into action, and they are about how to do it and the means by which it gets done. So we're the macro managers, you're the micromanagers. Okay, we look at big picture, you put the big picture into place. So it's not us trying to get involved in your day-to-day operations and your day-to-day work. The other thing is the board represents the community because we were elected by the community, but we also represent the district to the community. It's a two-way thing that we're responsible for. So we shouldn't isolate this in small groups and have it done in small groups. And again, the administrative work is turning goals into vision and action. So board work, set goals and vision, superintendent, administrative work, turning goals and vision into action. This comes right out of the OSBA boardmanship, page 2, and OSBA roles and responsibilities, page 5. Okay, the purpose is to set goals long-term for high levels of success based on the mission and vision of the school, assign responsibility, ensure resources, personnel, and assets are available to support success, ensure goals reflect the will of the community, ensure the goals support long-term planning. So, for example, when you go through a process like this, you're going to come up with themes. Student learning and program will undoubtedly rise to the top because that's what we're about, is student learning. But also other things are going to go in there. Facility master planning, for example. Gary has a passion for facility master planning. We all should have a passion for that. And that's not just a 5-year goal, that's a 25-year goal. But you have to start somewhere and set a clear and concise goal. I don't know if any of you are familiar with PRISM funds, but PRISM's physical plan replacement, reserve and special maintenance funds and planning. That's where you really think about the finances, the facility needs, and so forth. So anyhow, facility master planning and that sort of thing would potentially rise to the top. Financial security, budget planning, endowments, things like that would rise up. Co-curricular, extracurricular programs, marketing programs would rise up there. Potentially community would rise in there. And so what you want to do is you want to create goals for all these different themes, and then you have to find a way to align them all to a master plan. You can't have goals for facilities if program doesn't drive it. In other words, if you create, if out of a master plan, you create extracurricular programs, like, for example, Nate is interested certainly in industrial arts and things of that nature. That rises out as a potential goal. Then you have to start thinking about facilities and finances and staffing and all of that thing that comes out of it. And that again fits into the goals of master planning when you begin to align all those things. Okay. So the purpose of a master plan is to set a 5-year goal or 5-year goals, and then create the objectives to meet all those goals, to align those goals, and then be able to move forward for 5 years, and then do another plan that builds on that next 5 years. So maybe we need a new school in 20 years, okay? In the first 5 years, we maybe need to put a maintenance plan together or a PRISM plan together, so we know what roofs need to be replaced at what time, what sidewalks need to be replaced, and what buildings need to be replaced. And then the finance department has to think about what's this going to cost, and the superintendent has to think about how it's going to be funded. Okay, where are we going to get the money from? But you do this in a planned fashion, and you gear it directly towards student learning. Everything comes together. So the process is like this. You get representatives that reflect the community. It's up to 60 people in a retreat, and it's normally a 2-day retreat, and it's led by a facilitator who's an expert in this kind of stuff. It's a passion for me, and I would never do this, but I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been leading these workshops, and I've worked in schools, probably been through 20-25 different strategic plans, and every one of them has allowed the institution to rise beyond what they expected to rise. It works. So representatives from the district departments and the different schools in the district, faculty and staff, parents, students, community, and every board member has to be involved in this sort of thing. It begins with a SWOT analysis. You look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and you develop those themes: program, facilities, maintenance, community. All of that would come out of looking at what those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. And then you develop the major goals. And again, it's breakout sessions. It's things like this that do this. You develop objectives that support the goals. Those are the secondary goals. The objectives are the secondary goals. What are you going to do in 1 year? What are you going to do in 2 years? What are you going to do in 3 years? And that's your measurement of progress. Okay. And then post-workshop, and then, excuse me, back up. And then the plan is put together. It's reviewed. It's amended. The district staff, anybody who's a stakeholder is involved in looking over the plan. It's amended, it's voted on for adoption, and you move forward. The strategic plan committee and staff, they develop the action plan for each objective. So if you have a goal, the strategic planning committee would say who's responsible, who's secondary responsible, what are the assets we have to get this done, what's success going to look like, and what's the completion date for each objective that supports each goal. Finally, so again, you have that right there. A public document is created, and the entire community gets to see it, whether it's online or whether it's, I certainly like the idea of a hard copy that you can actually publish and give to people, but also have online as well. And then the strategic planning committee oversees and evaluates the progress over the 5 years. Every year they provide an annual report. I actually have a copy of an annual report that I gave everybody. I won't pull it out here, but I have a copy of one that was of a previous experience. Ongoing adjustments, if there needs to be adjustments, the board can certainly do that. The strategic planning committee can certainly get involved in that. Staff can get involved in that. Always things come up, big things like COVID, but small things just like the loss of certain personnel in an institution or something. And then upon completion, a new 5-year plan is created, and then you add new goals and you build on the previous goals. And it just continues on every 5 years. So I'm proposing that we do this summer, that we embark on this 2-day workshop. And you have to have space for 30-60 participants. There's no problem. There's plenty of that in the district. Facilitator is going to run $6,000 to $8,000. You need amenities because you want people happy when they're there. They need to eat and be comfortable. okay? And so when I listened to the conversation tonight, when I've listened to conversation over the last 5 months, Dustin has a passion for the wellness of teachers. It's a very important passion. And he's saying, I hope you can keep doing this kind of stuff. Well, that'd be nice. Hope is cheap. But if you put it in a strategic plan, it has to be done. Okay. Trish talks about Avid resources. Okay. Avid's great. I fully support it. I think it's a wonderful idea and wonderful for kids. In a strategic plan, it becomes concrete. Gary talks about buildings and grounds a lot and reading. Okay. And those are really important. And again, put it in a strategic plan and you're directed to move in that direction. Tim talks about student behavior today. Okay, tonight. Student behavior goals can be put in there. And then you create the action plans to reach them. And according to Nate, I mentioned industrial arts. That's an example of something easy. You put in there your strategic plan, those things, you're going to move forward. You're going to be able to get it done. So we need to act soon if we're going to do it. And again, I'm going to propose that we do it because there's finances involved. If we're going to get a facilitator, there's planning involved where you have to send out invites. You have to determine who's going to be invited. You have to determine what's the appropriate date so people can attend and they will agree to RSVP. And you have to have all of that done. So it's a lot of work to get it off the ground. But once it's done, it's well worth it. And I can guarantee if you create a strategic plan that's broad-based, that integrates all the goals together with the focus on student learning, that supports the mission of the school, you'll continue to make huge strides. This district can really do well. And you have such a gifted group of people in this district staff that they can carry this out beautifully. So that's my presentation. Yes.
Member Sable. So I just want to say I'm on board with this personally 110%. Over the last 20 years, I've worked in 4 different state agencies and we've gone through the process 2 or 3 times. And when it happens, there's always a little bit of trepidation because you have different departments doing a lot of great work and there's a lot of great efforts going on. And the I guess the question always is, what does that mean for the work we've already done or the work we're currently doing? And the answer is really not. You're taking all the good stuff that's already going on, or has done, and you're putting it into one master plan that's board approved, and it comes with the authority of the board, which helps direct funding and resources. And of course, there may be some things that fall off, depending, and there may be new priorities that pop up because you have a wide range of stakeholders involved with the process, which I think is exactly in the wheelhouse of the board. This kind of planning is exactly what we're supposed to be doing and leading with input from the community as representatives of the community on our educational goals, on our expectations, and also making sure that those goals are getting the resources they need and there's accountability that they're actually getting done. So to me, it's a very small investment, 6,000 to 8,000. It's a lot of money to my budget, but it's budget dust in this budget, this large. And the payoff is way beyond what it costs to do it in time and effort for sure. And I think the important thing to remember as well is that plans are malleable. It's not like it's going to come down from heaven and now it's the Bible and you can't change anything. As times change and as resources change or new things come up, it can be changed. That's what, in fact, plans should be changed or they become dust, covered with dust on a shelf somewhere. So it should be a living document.
That's number one, right up there. Do you amend? You can review and amend on a regular basis.
Right. And I guess I would just finally say that it doesn't do away with any of the committees that exist that are going to be, pulling information. In fact, what it's going to do is enliven those committees with board supported efforts and priorities that they can take it and work on it and give feedback as as we go. I think as it is right now, there are great things going on. My little short experience of time on some of these committees. Is that my time?
No,
Oh.
Glad somebody put mine.
All right.
I'm done.
Cassie, you have that? So, anyway, I'll just end with this if it's okay.
30 seconds, let's go.
I think what we're doing now, where there are liaisons to the board and these committees is good, but I don't think it's adequate. And it doesn't get us to where this process could take us with board support and resources being directed. If we have our guiding star and we know what it's going to be, as budget season comes around, you know where you're going to be pushing money and be pushing resources. So anyway, I just wanted to voice that and I support 100%.
Joe, thank you very much. I have been involved with one of these. I've only worked for one large organization and have the privilege of doing that. And I'll flip the script a little bit on what you said, because I see another powerful element of this. And I'd actually like to, promote it as well, is that when it was done in our organization, and I thought it was done really well, it engaged people very well throughout the organization. And so it didn't come with, oh, this is the board's authority and what the board is telling us to do. And who are they anyway? What do they know?
Well, that was at state agency.
Okay, so this was, they asked me what I wanted, say I'm a teacher or a parent, right? And then there's students maybe involved. There's a lot more involved. There's a lot more voices that go into this. And that involvement in the process is what brings buy-in at the end.
Right.
This is not just a board that sits down for a couple of days with a facilitator. This is a community effort. There's could be like surveys. There's an effort moving up to that retreat, right? There's like maybe some surveys and some other engagement or committee type things that bring like ammunition to that effort. And then at the conclusion, this isn't just like a push it down kind of thing. This is a, hey, we heard you. We want to embrace all these good ideas. We want to keep moving in these positive directions from everything we've heard. And so the idea is it's bringing everybody together and providing a common belief and mission.
That star.
And at the end, the thing that I thought was done really well was, and I can imagine it being up here, is they called it the A3. It was 11 by 17 piece of paper that just had all the goals on it, but it wasn't like fine print. It was like red, yellow, and green. It was like the scorecard. And at any moment throughout the month or whatever, somebody could just look at that scorecard and say, how are we doing on all these aspects? Yeah. And it really gets everybody focused on the things that we all believe matter the most to move the needle.
Well, when I started, I talked about the idea that we represent the community to the schools, and we represent the schools to the community. And that's where the buy-in comes in. If we can get those folks that we represent, all of them together, involved in this one process where they feel like they truly have made a difference, and they will have made a difference. And all the nuts and bolts that you talked about that weren't on that big piece of paper, those are done behind the scenes. That's where the curriculum committee or the policy committee or whatever else, they're doing that. They're making that happen. You're absolutely right. It pulls a community together.
Yeah, and I would just say, Dustin, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
There's my experience in going through these is that there are those who feel like they are making it happen, and then there are those who feel like it's something that's happening to them. And so the goal is to try to reduce the number of people that feel like it's happening to them, and make sure the right people are at the table, and that good work that is currently being done is included in that.
And make it public
Right.
for everybody to see.
Actually, it's not.
Well, I don't know. You use the word guarantee, and I find the district is fairly reluctant on the word guarantee.
I take back the guarantee.
Just saying.
Okay. Just saying. Okay.
If you read the duties and authorities of the board, the statutes and the policies, this sort of effort falls into that wheelhouse and why we exist.
Yeah. Well, our primary responsibility is vision, mission, and goal setting as a board. That's our primary responsibility, him, of course.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm gonna take a chance and make a motion.
Can I? say
Yes,
something?
absolutely.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I know that this kind of process depends heavily on the administration. So I'm interested in feedback on the process, changing the process from what it had been to a 2-day, 16-hour commitment. And also, you know, I'm retired, but not everyone on this board is, and can they take time off from work to commit to this? I know we've done other things where we've thought we had the full board commitment and then people don't show up. So I would want, you know, a verbal commitment to full participation. And so back to, what are your thoughts administratively?
I think that it does fall under the board wheelhouse of creating a vision and direction for the district, and we have no problem working with the board on creating that and doing the work. I agree that we will have board members that are gonna give up either personal time or vacation time, however that works for them. So we would want a commitment that we'd have all the board members present and participating, because I think that's gonna be important to the success of this. But overall, we've talked about this at the director level since Joe brought it up. There was, I will be honest, there was some apprehension, and we met with Joe last Friday and we talked about that, and I felt like it was a great meeting and alleviated a lot of fears and concerns, and we addressed those, and Joe answered those, and we appreciated him coming in and spending the time with us, especially since he was there on Wednesday morning and that meeting got usurped, and we invited him back Friday afternoon, so but we do appreciate that, so yeah.
Well, I won't make a motion because what we will do is put it on the agenda before I make a motion.
Correct. For
Yes,
the
actually.
January.
But we better do it soon.
Right, we'll have that on.
Sorry to stop your motion.
No, it's
Right.
good.
Thank you for stopping the motion.
Okay. Any more questions or thoughts? Okay. Let's see, please remember to state your name when making a motion or seconding to help Tanya. 7.0 action item, 7.1, 23 to 25 SIA grant agreement. Would entertain motions.
What was the ask? Just clarity on the ask.
It's well, we have to approve the SIA agreements. The two grants.
Approve them as they were presented.
Yes.
Okay. Member Sable, I motion that we approve 7.1 23-25 SIA grant agreement and
Do them individually.
okay.
You can do
And
them together.
7.1.1 GPSD 7 proper and 7.1.2 Newbridge High School as presented. And there was one amendment. Wasn't there? Or that was another, never mind. No, as presented, period. Or stop.
Do you need the ODE grant numbers in the motion?
Trish, do we need the grant numbers?
Having a motion, is there a second?
Member Schmidt seconds.
Being a second, is there discussion? Hearing none, Tanya?
Member Goodfellow?
Yes.
Member Richardson?
Yes.
Member Schmidt?
Yes.
Member Brownell?
Yes.
Yes.
Sable?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. 7.2 is approval of second and final readings. I'd like to take them one at a time if we can. The 7.2.1 policy IJ school counseling program. And entertain a motion.
There a reason to take them one at a time?
Recommended when voting in policy.
It's recommended. If you want to do them all in one shot, go right ahead.
Now we should go through them into this.
They are second and final.
I move that we approve 7.2.1 policy IJ school counseling program, 7.2.2 policy JHC student health services and requirements. 7.2.3 policy JG student discipline, 7.2.4 policy JHH student suicide prevention. 7.2.6 policy BDC executive session, 7.2.7 policy BFA local wellness. 7.2.8 policy LBE public charter schools, 7.2.9 policy LBEA resident school denial of virtual public charter school attendance. That they be approved as presented.
Discussion after.
Need a second.
Member Schmidt seconds.
Having a second, is there any discussion?
I have a question on BDC for executive sessions.
Which one's that?
BBC.
Executive sessions.
2.2.
Executive session.
So in the current policy that has not yet been replaced by this one. It has a mechanism for getting or initiating an executive session. So the mechanism is 3 board members or the board chair. And so my question is for this one, what will the mechanism be for initiating an executive session? I understand these are all the topics that are allowed in an executive session, but what will the mechanism be for actually initiating one?
This was based off of the last legislative council.
Right.
Just it's expanding.
Right.
One
Yeah.
more reason.
If-
Did it leave out what you feel is?
Well, I read the legislation and I also talked to one of the authors of the legislation. And it doesn't speak to it. It doesn't say that you can't, and it doesn't speak to it. So I guess my question is for sake of clarity for the board. Because we do have some direction in how to get agenda items on the agenda. Through the board chair, the superintendent, and or both.
I'm not understanding. Are you saying that the original policy did have
Yeah,
that?
the first sentence of the
wording?
original policy that's being crossed out says it may be convened by order of the board chair upon request of 3 board members.
Yeah,
So I think that's his.
that's the current policy, right?
The new ones.
3 board members can initiate an executive session. And I feel like it's important to have some clarity on the mechanism for getting an executive session. So that it's not arbitrary in the future when it comes up. Now, obviously, any request for an executive session, for example, 3 board members come along and do that, or you want to, you got to look at what the topic is and whether or not it fits into what the law allows. But what I am suggesting is that we have clarity of language that provides a mechanism for initiating an executive session.
That falls under the scope of the law.
Correct. Yeah, that was fall in the scope of that.
So what I would suggest is that we just take a vote on this motion, have it fail, and leave this policy out.
Yeah.
Send it back to policy committee.
Sounds great to me.
One quick question
That's
is,
why I was
is this addressed in the second paragraph with board policy BDDC? Is that the process? Because it talks about, it can be included as an agenda item, which you already mentioned is a known process,
Right.
and then it refers to BDDC.
I
So
don't.
just wondering if that satisfies your question.
I don't think it would. I would personally like to see the language in this, so there's no ambiguity. So there's no wondering, well, how do we do this? And then someone comes up with an arbitrary answer on how we're gonna go about doing it. I think clarity is important. And how do we get into these meetings? How do we initiate them? Yeah, so anyway, I think I liked Gary's idea of let's kick it back and let's talk more about that. Now we have a motion on the floor. We have to vote.
They could amend, or they could withdraw the motion in the second.
But we took them all as one.
That's why you do have to single.
Still gonna hit trees about. Everybody's. It seems like a small thing. But I think it is important. You know,
Before,
the city, the county, and everywhere you go. There are rules on how to initiate an agenda items, so we don't have confusion. So it's very clear on that. The revision in this law does not speak to it, and it does not say that you cannot. And so we can. So we can, decide how we want to initiate an executive session as long as the topics follow the law.
You spoke to the author. Did they say why they left that out?
Because they expect local authorities to make those types of decisions.
Is it redundant in law?
No,
No,
it's not in the law.
It's not there.
in that law. Okay.
Cassie, before we clear the slate on this motion, Nathan or anybody else, are there other policies that you're wanting to discuss that we should talk about? I'm still trying to figure out a way to put them all in one motion, but
It's not.
Well, we
yeah.
could put all but those two into one motion.
that's what I'm getting at. Is there any other,
Okay.
Okay.
all right.
Oh,
Oh,
I guess I have one more question. On LBEA, that's resident student denial for virtual public charter school payments. So the last line, if the student was enrolled in a virtual public charter school while living in another district and has maintained continuous enrollment in such school since moving into and residing in this district, approval is not required. So essentially, we're saying there is no grandfather, they're not grandfathered in.
They are great.
They are.
It's saying that if I've been at Reach Charter School and been living in Three Rivers, then I'm living in D7, I can continue to go to Reach Charter School.
approval's not required.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. Good. Thanks for the clarification.
All right. Tanya?
Clarification, what are we voting on?
We're voting on the whole list.
You're voting no.
Yeah, to vote to fail instead of withdrawing.
We'll
We need to take it back
redo the motion.
and we're taking B to C off.
She said we could amend it.
We're going to amend.
We're going to take them separately.
Then we need to take it back.
Take it back.
Withdraw.
Just.
Oh, we want to withdraw. Easy. Let's just let it die.
Vote on.
Are you comfortable with that?
I'm
not.
not especially comfortable
Okay.
with that. I think it would be simpler to just
Just vote.
withdraw the motion and restate the motion. If you don't want to do that, I will.
As was stated, the motion is on the floor. It's been seconded. So we should vote on it
Or we can withdraw.
and then we can. Can we withdraw?
Yes,
though?
Yes, we can.
Before the
Okay.
vote.
Yes.
So what's
Who
the
made the
process
motion?
for withdrawing it?
I think you should withdraw it, Joe.
Yeah.
Just withdraw it. I had to do that the first meeting. Okay.
But you don't want to withdraw?
Well,
Do you have your cheat sheet over there?
anybody can say they want to withdraw the motion.
Yes.
But when that happens, then we have a vote whether we're gonna withdraw the motion or not. Just vote on the motion and it's over.
Yeah, just vote on it. and let it
Who's the
die.
secretary?
Joe.
Parliamentarian.
So
Joe.
we voted down and then just submitted a
Joe's
motion.
spoken, there we go.
With, so if you want to withdraw or modify a motion, you can't interrupt the speaker, don't need a second, not debatable, it's not amendable, and it requires a majority vote.
I think we broke all of the rules.
So if you were to make a motion to withdraw the motion, we have to vote on that.
We'll just vote on the motion.
Let's vote. I'm not the chair.
Yeah.
It's your job. I know. You've got the cheat sheet. I know.
Cassie, would you like to call for a vote?
Yeah, are you with, says anybody can withdraw a vote.
You're gonna stand up to vote on that. So you might as well wait on it.
I didn't like the optics of no vote, but it sounds like it's simpler and faster to just vote no, so I will
Okay.
concede
Tanya,
to the little blue.
Doing a roll call.
No.
First and second.
on the original motion.
Thank you. Member Lindall,
No.
Member Richardson,
No.
Member Schmidt.
No.
Member Brownell.
No,
Member Wilkins.
No.
Sable,
No.
No,
Okay. I would entertain a motion. Take them one at a time. For 7.2. I would entertain a motion on 7.2.1.
Fails for lack of motion.
I move that we accept 7.2.1 policy IJ school counseling program.
Sable seconds.
Having a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Tanya?
Member Lindall,
Yes.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
yes,
Wilkins,
Yes.
Sable.
Yes.
yes,
I need here. To entertain a motion for 7.2.2.
Member Schmidt moves that we approve 7.2.2 policy JHC student health services and requirements.
Member Dibdall seconds.
Wait a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Tanya?
Member Lindall,
Yes.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Member Brownell,
yes,
Member Wilkins.
Yes.
Member Sable.
Yes.
yes,
Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
I move that we approve 7.2.3 policy JG student discipline.
member Smith seconds,
Having a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none. Tanya?
Member Lindall,
Yes.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Member Brownell.
yes,
Member Wilkins,
Yes.
Sable.
Yes.
yes,
I move, member Schmidt moves that we approve policy 7.2.4 policy JHH student suicide prevention.
member Smith seconds,
Having a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none. Tanya?
Member Lindall,
Yes.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Schmidt,
Yes.
Brownell,
yes,
Member Wilkins,
that's you.
Yes. Just listening.
Sable.
Yes.
yes,
Member Schmidt moves that we approve policy 7.2.6 policy BDC
No,
executive session.
no, we want to table that.
Oh, we table it. I withdraw that motion. Member Schmidt moves that we
Vote on
approve policy 7.2.7 policy EFA local wellness.
No, we gotta go back to 7.2.6. Someone has to make a motion to
to
table.
table it.
Can I make a motion?
Gotcha. Okay.
Member Dibdall moves that we take policy 7.2.6 BDC executive session and table it for further review.
Sable seconds.
Having a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Tanya?
Member Dipdahl,
Yes.
Member Richardson,
Yes.
Member Schmidt.
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes.
Member Wilkins.
Yes.
Member Sable.
Yes.
Yes.
Member Dibdall makes a motion to approve 7.2.7 policy EFA, local wellness, and 7.2.8 policy LBE, charter schools, and policy 7.2.9 policy LBEA, resident school denial for virtual public charter school attendance.
Sable seconds.
Having a second, is there any discussion? Hearing none, Tanya?
Member Dipdahl.
Yes.
Member Richardson.
Yes.
Yes.
Member Brownell,
Yes.
Wilkins.
Yes.
Member Sable.
Yes.
Yes.
Way to break the rules, Chad.
What rule? Suggestion?
You didn't catch
Seven point three, approval of city of Grants Pass right away for improvement of safe routes and school.
Board members have any questions on that?
We have to get to a
No, thanks.
discussion.
What we're doing is basically giving up the corner of some of our land, which is going to be converted into a handicap ramp up the corners. So we'll have the little yellow squares there. But the city doesn't own the land, so they need us to give them 6 feet of land on how many different parcels, Tanya? 3? 4?
It's on the corner,
Yeah.
it's on the corner up by the softball field there.
Right.
It's gonna be on Union A on both sides.
Yeah.
And then on the corner of 10th and A right in front where the, like the Hall of Fame sign is usually up right.
Correct, yeah, that's it. No, we're not tying the parks into this.
Yeah.
I see that look on the. Sure gonna vote on it. We'll go.
This is an ongoing,
No back scratching going on.
this is an ongoing multi-year effort funded by ODOT. They've done this at some of my parks for the state and I didn't get to vote on it. So this is kind of nice.
Yeah, but we get to vote on it.
What?
That's a lot of square footage we're giving up here.
24 square feet.
How much did they offer, Tim?
Would they trade us to connect?
I did have a question.
Yes.
I know in some of the property downtown, I've noticed that they've left little corners of undeveloped bareness for weeds to grow. And that people who asked ODOT had their little pieces filled with set in masonry rocks. And so I want to make sure that we don't have an ugly little bit of bare ground or loose rocks in anything.
It's my understanding they'll be putting the wheelchair accessible ramps there with little yellow square pads. The textured pads.
Well,
I just want to make sure we don't have.
I can go back and check and make sure if you'd like to table the motion for tonight.
I don't mind going forward with the motion. I
Yes.
just want to make sure
will-
we don't
yes.
have a potential hazard. Because I think it's a potential hazard to have loose rock or a hole.
Right, and they're not gonna start this project immediately,
Yeah.
so we have time to ensure that.
Yeah.
so make the letter. that goes with it.
It's a
Yes,
bargaining
sir.
chip.
Okay.
Okay, I would entertain a motion now.
Sable, I motion that we approve 7.3. City of Grants Pass right away for improvement of safe routes to school.
I'm going to second. Having a second, is there any discussion?
Second.
Wilkins.
Can we fold in the,
There any discussion?
I like that we'll have safer routes to school.
Agreed.
Yes, agreed. Tanya, should I have a roll call vote?
Yes.
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 8.0, future meeting dates and suggested agenda items. January 9th, 5 PM is a board meeting. January, there's a typo, January 22nd. At 9 AM, there's the facilities committee. January 16th at 6 PM, there's a community listening session. January 22nd is a busy day at 5:30. There will be a OSBA Southern Region Legislative Roadshow at Phoenix High School. I believe our orchestra will be performing.
Yes, it will.
January 22nd at 5 PM, the GPSD 7 Equity Advisory Team meeting, January 23rd at 5 will be the Policy Committee. And we'll adjourn.
Which.